The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome back to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor and Stress to Logic, your host. And in the first segment, we were talking about the different times when an individual can use a firearm for self-defense. Now, we were discussing great bodily harm and how great bodily harm is what will put you in the hospital. And it's not a specific definition. It is on purpose nebulous, on purpose vague, because what will put you in the hospital is different than what will put me in the hospital. Everyone has hidden disabilities. So while a 6'4", 250-pound muscular man might not be put in the hospital at the same time as a scrawny 100-pound, 5' nothing, nerdy dude with glasses that looks like the Monopoly Man. Sorry if you look like the Monopoly Man. But just to let you know, that's different. So I have hidden disabilities. Other people have hidden disabilities. I have disabilities that are maybe not federally recognized, but certainly affect my ability to get in a long, drawn-out physical match or to run away. For example, I was having a problem with my left hip. Yeah, I know. I'm not that old, but I got an MRI. Turns out I have arthritis in my left hip, very, very mild. It was enough for me to talk to my physician at a recent annual physical, and he's like, go get it checked out. And I wouldn't have actually made an appointment to see him, but, you talk about all your aches and pains as you get older, and he's like, I don't know. So it turns out I don't need anything. It's arthritis. Maybe I pop a Tylenol or two when it's hurting me. Maybe I get a steroid if it's really, really bugging me, or possibly a cortisone injection. But what that means in self-defense speak is I've got arthritis in mobility issues. Even before I had arthritis, I was never a runner. But this is a physical ailment preventing me from running away at any speed from danger. Meaning, I might be able to, that's the key word. The other key words are, I am not an attorney. I'm giving you a non-legal opinion. I might be able to deploy my firearm quicker or earlier, not quicker, but earlier than another individual who happens to not have the physical impairment, just like I said. I also need a shoulder rebuilt. If I throw a punch, it's probably going to pop out my shoulder from my socket. That might require some medical intervention. So you all have to think about what your individual hidden and visible disabilities are. What's a visible disability? I wear glasses. What's another visible disability? I don't use one, but if someone uses a cane or they have a physical deformity, possibly missing a limb, these are all things that may allow someone to deploy their firearm earlier than an able-bodied person. With that said, I hope that clarifies what great bodily harm is, and I want to move into what some of the new laws that are effective January 1st have been enacted and how they affect gun owners. So I'm going to go through them. There's over 140 of them in Illinois, so I'm not going to go over 140. I'm just going to go over the ones that affect gun owners. So here we go. House Bill 3559 says that school crisis plans have to have a law enforcement rapid entry procedure, and again I'm paraphrasing, so that police can gain quick entry into a school building. Pretty good law. Yeah, I'm going to give my opinion after each one. House Bill 3751. Be very careful, folks. Think critically, because I've seen this in several conservative firearm groups. This law now allows non-citizens who are legally allowed to work to become police officers in Illinois if they are FOID eligible, meaning they don't have any criminal background, meaning they have the appropriate documentation that they're in the country. They're just not a citizen yet. I know several people that aren't citizens that are great people. I say put your thinking caps on, and I say read everything with a critical eye, because, as I've seen in these conservative groups, when this bill first was rattling around the legislature and when it first got approved, some of these conservative gun groups said, "Oh my God, you can't do that. They're felons. They're in the country illegally. They're more prone to be violent because they're here illegally and they've already committed a felony by cross." No, dude, that is not what the law says. So don't rely on a non-attorney or somebody who's just trying to rile you up to give you bad information. And there is bad information out there left and right. And this one drove me nuts, because when I initially had this debate with another person in the firearm industry, another prominent person, mind you, the answer was what I just said. Well, they're already felons. No, they're not. They're here in the United States legally, meaning they are on a work visa. They're on some sort of visa. I don't know all the terminology. It does not mean they've crossed the border illegally or come in via airplane or boat or train or whatever illegally. They are here legally. Also, my argument at the time was, I'm not asking for someone's immigration status. If I have to call 911 for help, oh, hold on, you must have an accent. Therefore, do you have a green card or are you a citizen? Can you show me your passport? No, if a bad guy's broken my house and they're holding my family hostage, you really think I'm going to worry about if the police officer, what his background is? No, I want to know that they're properly trained, they know what to do, and they're going to come in and save the day. That's my argument with people. So please, please, please think critically. Don't just soak up what other people are putting out, because it's not always accurate. It's not always true. I can certainly give you an opinion. If you ever have a question on anything legal, please reach out to me. My electronic business card is marcusmelnick.com. That is marcusmelnick.com. And we're going to pause for a small break.
I want my listeners to know that this is my dream, teaching people about safety. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for my listeners, I couldn't live my dream. So on behalf of my family and myself, I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to live my dream. And I also want to continue to live my dream, and I'm excited to continue to spread the word of safety. Recently, I began a new service as a conference keynote speaker. So if anyone would like for me to speak at future events, or if anyone knows of an introduction or would like to discuss how we can work with one another, I'd love to do just that. The keynote speaking website is www.stress2logic.com. That is STRESS2logic.com. If you're aware of any conference speaking engagements where you'd like to have me speak, I'd love an introduction. You can always share my electronic business card, which is Marcus Melnick, MarcusMelnick.com. Now, back to the show.
Some of my speaking engagements are available to attend for members of the public. This month, a couple weeks from now, on February 17th, I am going to be speaking at Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana, at a TEDx seminar, and that is going to be on overcoming the human stress response. I've got other ones in healthcare, in law enforcement. There is a conference which I'll talk about at a future date, June 20th, downtown Chicago, and then there's a club meeting July 16th at 2 p.m. at the Northbrook Library. You have to be a member of that club. But there's all sorts of opportunities to engage me, to hear me, to speak, to think about what my perspectives are. We were talking about the different laws that are coming into play or came into play January 1st, 2024, and we're going to continue on. House Bill 2839 states Police cannot stop a vehicle for stuff hanging from the rearview mirror. So if you want your fuzzy dice there, if you want your anti-stink air freshener there, the police cannot pull you over for things dangling. I honestly think that's a stupid, stupid law because it is distracted driving. It doesn't matter if it's a cell phone or if it's a pair of dice or if it's a hula person or whatever. It's distracted. So once again, our wonderful state legislature has really hit the nail on the head. Actually, what they've done this time is they didn't hit the nail on the head. They missed the nail, incredibly missed it, and hit themselves in the thumb that was holding the nail. Ever happened to you? Yeah, that's what happened to the state of Illinois. Let's talk about some positives, though. House Bill 2493 gives 2 weeks paid off for family members who were killed in crimes of violence. I think that's great. Whenever there is a death, everyone's world is just turned upside down, and it's very difficult to get back into the swing of things, and I know that because I've had family members who have passed away. House Bill 3677 allows people to get a 3-year fishing license, a 3-year hunting license, or a 3-year combination license. You just got to pay 3 times what it would be for a 1-year, but that keeps people legal for a longer period of time. Not a bad idea. This is an interesting one because one of my speaking topics is managing patients who could be agitated or violent in healthcare. And State Bill 1497 says that patients in nursing homes can no longer be restrained. They can request positioning devices. Those help them to sit in a chair. They might be a strap so that they don't fall over, help them in the bed, but they cannot be restrained. I want to know how they can be restrained or how they can be addressed if he can't be restrained anymore. Looks like we got to use a lot of verbal judo. New laws become effective typically twice a year in Illinois, January 1st and July 1st. Now, occasionally there's a law that is effective immediately. However, I'm going to be covering only those that affect gun owners. And there is an Illinois bill right now that proposes limits on traffic stops. So there's a House bill proposing traffic stop restrictions, and it's opposed by the police. So this law would limit the police's ability to pull over drivers for various traffic offenses, and it's already drawn flack from law enforcement in some state legislatures, which I'm happy about. It's House Bill 4603. It's a bill, it's not a law. It would prevent Illinois law enforcement from pulling over motorists for reasons such as driving with an expired registration sticker, driving without a registration plate or sticker, several kinds of equipment failures, and driving without a seatbelt, among others. Evidence recovered during a traffic stop for those reasons would be inadmissible in a court of law, even if it was given with the driver's consent. The bill was filed Monday by Representative Justin Slaughter, who's a Democrat in Chicago, and there's no action as of midweek. So under the bill, officers would still be allowed to stop drivers for speeding or improper lane usage if either constituted a misdemeanor or felony offense. So Illinois law now says driving 26 to 35 miles an hour over the speed limit is a Class B misdemeanor, and driving over 35 miles an hour over the limit is a Class A misdemeanor, which is a little bit more serious. The bill has received criticism from other legislatures, from law enforcement, and the Greene County Sheriff Rob McMillan said he's vehemently opposed to the bill, as well as any other law that puts the citizens of Greene County in danger. If this bill becomes law as proposed, McMillan said, it will further tie the hands of law enforcement officers across the state and prevent us from protecting the citizens of our jurisdiction. A representative in Murrayville, Davidsmeyer, called the bill a bad idea that speaks for itself. He believed the bill would not make it to the floor of the House of Representatives, though he did not discount the possibility, as a lot of, quote, ignorant legislation, end quote, has made its way through both the House and the Senate. If it did make it to the floor, he said he'd be speaking up against it. I hope that cooler heads will prevail, said Davidsmeyer. The Illinois Sheriff's Association Executive Director Jim Katchuk said he was taken aback and extremely concerned about the bill, and he recommended that the sheriff's part of the association oppose it. Not being able to pull people over for certain offenses, as well as evidence being pulled from those stops being rendered inadmissible, would make it more difficult for police officers to do things like track down a stolen vehicle or catch on to a greater crime like murder or human trafficking. He said, I just don't understand it. It's truly perplexing to me why we would have a bill introduced of this nature. There's a lot of serious concerns. I have serious concerns. That is how a lot of crime is discovered, through just a traffic violation. Local officials have serious concerns, and it's hard to overstate how bad this bill is. Lake County Sheriff John Eidelberg told the Lake and McHenry County Scanner that he has serious concerns about the bill. If passed, this would significantly decrease our ability to keep drivers safe on the roadway, which is in complete contrast to what the community expects from the police. The sheriff said that oftentimes a traffic stop for something like improper lane usage results in deputies being able to take a drunk driver off the road. Stopping a car without license plates has led to recovering stolen vehicle. Not to mention we all drive above the speed limit, but not to mention driving above the speed limit is dangerous, and it's the number one traffic complaint that the Lake County Sheriff's Office receives from the community. So limiting the ability to enforce traffic laws will undoubtedly increase injuries and death on our roadways. Drivers who don't wear a seatbelt are not going to get stopped also under this bill. Obstructed windshield. So if you have hanging dice, defective windshield wipers, defective bumpers, exhaust, crack in the windshield, you cannot pull someone over under this bill. This same representative was one of the lead sponsors of the controversial Safety Act, which went into effect in September and ended cash bail. The McHenry County State's Attorney Patrick Kennelly said improper lane usage and speeding are precursors to a vast amount of driving under the influence investigations and arrests. Speeding and driving a vehicle without a seatbelt is the cause of countless deaths on Illinois highways every year. He also went on to say, how are we expected to prove who committed the traffic offense if police cannot identify the defendant through a traffic stop? State's attorney also said if no evidence is discovered or obtained as a result of the traffic stop is admissible, that many crimes would not be able to be prosecuted. For example, if police find a kidnapped child in the trunk of an offender's car after pulling the defendant over for speeding as he was attempting to flee the police, we would not be able to prosecute the driver for child abduction or worse. This bill, this is now me speaking, this bill is absolutely atrocious. Disgusting. Like I threw up in my mouth a little bit. What is with our legislature in Illinois? And I'd love for someone to write in to me and explain this to me and not just say, well, it's the Democrats, it's the liberals. Why is the Illinois legislature continuing to pass laws that limit law enforcement and call for lawlessness? Now, I get it. There's a little bit of a balance between, we want to enforce the law and discretion. But time and time again, we're seeing a trend to law enforcement that they can't do anything. No protected immunity, no cash bail. They're under scrutiny when they use their firearms. I have heard of, although I don't know anyone personally, but I have heard of police officers saying, oh yeah, when there's a shooting call, we go to lunch. And they come in after the fact and mop up the scene. Start to investigate after it's all secured, after it's all safe, to reduce the liability of the police officer at the scene. Now you might say, well, there's more liability for a police officer if they don't respond. Perhaps, but the federal Supreme Court has said on 2 occasions at least that the police do not have the responsibility of protecting individual citizens. They maintain order for the community. So they don't have to investigate anything. They're not able to do anything, really, when their hands are tied. So it's appropriate to consider whether we're over-policing certain communities, but we can't allow unsafe drivers to speed down the road, to swerve from lane to lane, or have faulty equipment, said State's Attorney Reinhart from Lake County. Now, I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff, but I agree with him on this. So there can still be safe roads and constitutional policing, and he continually ask that the Prosecutors Association and local legal community to address racial profiling and other unfair practices. Okay, very good. No problem. But did you know you can't really tell the race of the person as they're going by you at 50 miles an hour? So race comes in whether they get a ticket. Tons of law enforcement are against this. Tons of patriots are against this. If you can write in, my electronic business card is marcusmelnick@firearmmentor.com. And if you can explain to me why our legislators are just so anti-public. They're catering to some minorities, and I'm not saying minorities shouldn't have equal rights. They definitely should have equal rights. But the minority that constitutes the criminal class should not have special rights. Actually, no group should have special rights. They should all have equal rights. And that's, again, my opinion. So stand by for more, but this is one of those ridiculous new laws that has been proposed along with some rumored other ones, but this one actually was filed. The other ones haven't been filed yet. There are some other bills floating around the state legislature. There's thousands of bills. I never realized that there were that many bills that are up for committee review. They're up for all sorts of things. So let me give you kind of a synopsis of some of these bills, and they're not laws. So the first one is State Bill 1418, says that it's unlawful for a person who's been convicted of a felony to knowingly possess in any vehicle a weapon prohibited under the UUW or unlawful use of weapons statute, or to knowingly possess ammunition. That's not bad. Next, we've got State Bill 1606, amends the Illinois Criminal Justice Information Act, provides that the act shall analyze criminal justice data to track crimes committed in the state by a convicted felon who is armed with a firearm at the time of the crime. Okay, so that's just a study one. Not bad. Next, we've got State Bill 1608. Basically, it says anyone who sells or gives a firearm to someone who's been convicted of a felony is guilty of a Class X felony, which is 10 to 30 years, rather than a Class 3 felony. So it more criminalizes people for providing a firearm to a felon. This is a good one. State Bill 1693 deletes provisions that prohibit the possession or use of any device or attachment of any kind, designed, used, or intended for use in silencing the report of any firearm. Now, this is in direct opposition to the PICA Act, which says you can't have a threaded barrel. So we'll have to see if PICA gets shot down and this gets shot up, so to speak. And then you can carry in a library because you'll have a silencer. All right, pause for effect. That was a joke. There's also State Bill 1957 to repeal the Floyd Act. I doubt that's going to pass because it's been fought in court and lost. All right, let's talk about State Bill 2106. Basically, any member of the General Assembly who wishes to introduce a bill pertaining to a firearm must be able to prove that he or she has completed firearm training requirements for concealed carry, range safety officer, and a basic knowledge test of calibers and gauges of firearms. What a fantastic law. One of my gripes with legislatures all over the country, not just Illinois, is that you've got people who are elected to positions, they're making laws that they know nothing about, whether it's women's reproductive rights, whether it's firearms or police work or firework, etc. State Bill 2112 provides that a full-time sworn compensated firefighter is permitted to carry a pistol, revolver, stun gun, taser, or other firearm on his person in public or vehicle if the firefighter has a valid concealed carry license, is carrying on duty, and has been approved to carry on duty by the mayor, city council, village president, or village board of trustees. I do not think that this is a good idea unless there are lock boxes in the fire apparatus vehicles. And I say that because I formerly worked at a fire department where if you were wearing any jewelry, like say a gold necklace, and you went into a structure fire, that necklace through the protective clothing is going to attract heat and burn someone. I don't know how hot that actually gets, but same thing with a firearm. Since I worked for the Glencoe Department of Public Safety, there was one of the guys, he later became a lieutenant. He was carrying his gun as a firefighter. This is right after 9/11. And I was an administrative person, but I would go on calls. As I went on one of these calls, he was carrying a firearm. It was a couple days post 9/11, and he had to go into a suspected structure fire. So you know what he did? Gave me his gun, which I immediately unloaded so that it wouldn't accidentally discharge. So I don't know that this is really a great law unless there is a provision to lock up firearms as a firefighter is putting on bunker gear. State Bill 2609 requires that the school board include information on how a parent or guardian can safely store firearms at home, where other policies, rules, and standards concerning student conduct are posted and made available to parents. Education is always a good idea. State Bill 1326 repeals the firearm dealer license certification, which means it reduces the burden on local gun stores. Not a bad idea. State Bill 1327 talks about concealed carry and transport in parks. Amends the Concealed Carry Act, provides that the prohibition against licensee carrying a firearm into any building, parking area, or portion of the building under the control of an officer of the executive or legislative branch of government does not apply to any rest areas under the control of the DOT or buildings located in rest areas under the control of DOT. It eliminates a provision that the licensee shall not knowingly carry a firearm on any bus, train, or form of transportation paid for in whole or in part by public funds. So this is getting people to actually carry in a public park, athletic area, athletic facility, under the control of municipality or park district, as well as on public transportation. So there was a law that came into effect recently that raised the age of all firearm purchases to 21. State Bill 1328 moves back down to 18 rather than 21. They do have to have parental permission to get a FOID card. This is an interesting one. State Bill 1329 amends the Illinois Firearm Concealed Carry Act, allowing reciprocity, meaning Illinois would recognize the permit on any state whose requirement to obtain a permit or license is substantially similar to the training requirements under the act, or any state that touches Illinois. That's not a bad idea. Well, there you have it, folks. Those are just some bills that have been introduced in the state legislature. We'll definitely keep you posted on it if any of these come to fruition. My next concealed carry class is next Sunday. It is a renewal-only class. If you're interested, reach out to me at marcusmelnick.com. Until next week, thank you very much and stay safe.
We have monthly concealed carry license CCL classes in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Dates can be seen at firearmmentor.com/classes. If you have a question, we can be reached at www.firearmmentorcard.com. That is our electronic business card, has all of our contact information and links in it. It's the easiest way to get a hold of us. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the shooting range. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor signing off. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.